Good afternoon, Upper Sixth. So, following on from our lesson today that we walked through this presentation, thought I'd record you a copy so you can go through Ansoff a little bit. This obviously touches on one aspect of Ansoff, market penetration, but it might be, this is going to be a 12 marker, it might be that you consider another aspect of Ansoff. So, for your mops. So we'll see. So this is an article from today's, maybe yesterday's Times, talking about how Netflix have regained loads of subscribers. Remember, they were losing subscribers, economic climate, price sensitive customers, and they've done a number of things which we talked about in class, which I'll briefly touch upon in this video. So this is the 12 marker we talked about. So we talked about the likely impact as the start of the hook, and that's a H, and of Netflix market penetration. This is obviously our knowledge we need to demonstrate. It's a 12 marker. P, however, answer the question, justify future orientated mops. Now we said likely impact of what? Well, some questions will tell you, for instance, profit maximization or happiness or world peace or something like that. And if it isn't mentioned in the question, it will be mentioned in the case study. And this will be an aim and objective, something to do with Netflix current situation compared to possibly a future goal. So we're looking for bits of evidence here to do with aims. So if you've paused the video and watched and read this text, you will see we have got X amount of households. So it could be that this is part of the hook. It could be that they're in 190 countries. Yeah, maybe it's growing their business in these countries or more countries. Maybe we think of product life cycle. In some of these, we might be at that maturity stage. And not so much decline because they've got their numbers back. But it could be in some emerging markets. We talked extensively about India, for example. They might be in the early growth stages because it's a rapidly growing economy. People earn more money. More people have disposable income. Maybe they pay for Netflix. Maybe more people can have mobile phones so they can watch Netflix. Because remember, they're their mobile first technology. And maybe they don't have broadband at home. Maybe they're watching Netflix on their phones or streaming via their mobile phone internet connection on a laptop or something. We've got 14.8% in revenues. This could be another aim that we can talk about. We've got income. We've got lots of stuff there, and then so these are lots of positives. Now remember, we need balance, so we're looking for some possible negatives here. And reading through this paragraph, we've got lovely however put in the middle of it to signpost us to possible negative information. Even though the subscribers numbers are going up, shares 3.2% down. Okay, so this is possibly a negative point for one of my howevers. We've got a number of positive points up here. I'd be tempted to use that twice, hey? There might be some other things in here as well. We've got competition, which is quite important. So going back to the question, likely impact of Netflix market penetration strategy. Now this video doesn't go through the activity that we did in class, where we defined in context the different elements of Ansoff's matrix. So we'll go into the essay that we talked about. Now, you need to start off your essays with an in-context definition. It can form part of your first P paragraph. So here we need to prove to the examiner that we're demonstrating an understanding of market penetration. So according to Ansoff's matrix, market penetration aims to grow the firm's market share within an existing market using existing products. It's just a rework slightly of the one that we've studied from the textbook. It's not in context yet. We need to make sure that we're applying market penetration definition to real examples. Netflix has pursued this by introducing advertising supported streaming plans application, which attracted a broader audience by offering a more affordable subscription. We've got reduced subscription, that's in context as well. This strategy uses the strengths of the existing product. Now, if we were just leaving it at product, it's abstract. We've got some benefits of it up here, but we need to apply existing product, existing market, the streaming service, and expands its reach within the current markets, e.g. the UK. Okay, so this is expanding in this market, and why not just throw the UK in there, hey? By doing so, Netflix has increased its subscriber base, not customers, that's more context, and revenue by adding 9.3 million new customers, nearly double the number forecasted by analysts, and revenue increase of that amount. Now you can see I've emboldened what I think are probably chains of argument, are connectives, and you'll also see that I've used two bits of evidence here. I don't really need to do that, but I've done that on purpose so I can say to you about how can you possibly have a contextualized another chain of argument. It could be that you talk about and revenue increases. Okay, now this one didn't really need that extra bit there because we were way over the 5 that we would need, and we've got the however to go yet, remember. But is it demonstrating an interpretation and using the theory of Ansoff and market penetration, and is it linked to an aim or objective of the company? Well, clearly it is. Leave a line, however, just to make sure it's obvious that we are presenting these counter arguments. Despite these gains, Netflix share price dropped by 3.2%. Now, I need to interpret that for that to mean anything. Yeah, this decline could suggest what lovely language for signposting our examiner towards an interpretation of the evidence. Instead of, despite that, it dropped by 3.2%. So what? Yes, you've used the case study, but you've not told me why it's important. And they've got concerns about how sustainable this growth is. Okay, so we've sort of used that. It's in context as well, so our however makes sense. I'm thinking we're level 4 so far. So Netflix enhanced content slate, obviously quotation marks. You know, examiners aren't silly. If you put quotation marks around random words, they're not going to be fooled by it. But if you're using a quote from the case study, you put quotation marks around it. Number one, you know you have used evidence. And the reason that some people will get low marks this year probably isn't just because they've not revised. I think the majority of students in the UK have revised and they do understand the theory. The problem is they just spew knowledge onto a page and some of them will mess their timings up. So you've got to use context. Look through the examiner reports and you will see how important contextualization is to your answer. Multiple lists of points that are not contextualized is still going to get you level 2. Okay? So focus on context, chain of argument, and demonstrating that you have revised. Really important. So we're thinking about those diverse global viewers, not customers. Yeah, that is contextualized. Enhancing its content portfolio, we know about product portfolios, don't we, is linked with market penetration by building rapport with existing customers and attracting new ones within the same market. Okay, again, this chain of argument is linked to market penetration in context with content portfolio. Netflix investment in high quality diverse content such as these TV programs, I really do like Avatar The Last Airbender, has helped retain subscribers and attract new ones from competitors like Apple. Okay, a bit more context. So we've got our chains of argument. I've only emboldened 3 of them there, probably more actually. But then again, we've got our however, haven't we? However, the investment in content creation raises concerns about the long-term financial burden and its impact on profitability, especially if subscriber growth does not keep pace with content spending, which might be why their share price dropped by 3.2%. Now, even though we've used the same negative point there, we've used a different perspective to interpret how we've got there. Content spending versus subscriber growth. And we've got share price up here, could suggest investors are concerned about the sustainability of these potential saturation in key markets. So the saturation in key markets is a little bit different than this down here, which is why I'm going to get away with using the 3.2% twice. Don't just focus on 3.2%, focus on how it's been interpreted. Overall, Netflix market penetration strategy has effectively increased its subscriber base and improved its financial performance. Now, other than directly answering the question, the A in our model of answering these things, it's not really added anything to it, but it has directly answered the question. This is where we hope our justification is correct. If Netflix has not used a market penetration strategy, it might have struggled to maintain its market leadership and subscriber growth amidst fierce competition from rivals like Amazon Prime. Forgot the full stop. So we've got context there, and again, this is one of those questions that we could use our justification to consider the alternative, consider the opportunity cost. What if they hadn't done this? Well, it's a fast-paced, dynamic market. Maybe Netflix wouldn't have their market leadership. Okay, Apple churn out some amazing content, absolutely amazing. That's who they're in competition with, not so much Amazon Prime, but who am I? I'm just a Dalmatian. Now, you're all screaming at the screen, other than for me to hurry up. You're saying, where's the mops? Decided to go with objective here. However, in the future, if Netflix wants to continue growing its subscriber numbers, its objectives may change to include enhancing its market penetration and exploring product development by diversifying its advertising model and growing international market presence. So it could be that they start focusing more on that in the future. So those rising stars like India need a lot of money spending on its advertising to help them become the cash cows in 10, 20, 30 years' time. Okay, we've brought in a little bit of knowledge without making it too obvious of the sort of things we might do in Boston Matrix with those words, but we've also brought in a little bit more understanding of Ansoff's matrix. Now, when we marked this essay in class together, I think we all agreed that it was level 4. But actually, one of you, Bradley, said, actually, sir, I don't think it's full marks. And it's wonderful feedback. Thank you very much. Definitely publicly applauding this feedback. And Bradley's feedback was, this first point is definitely a positive. That's a negative. That's a positive. That's a negative. And what Bradley said was, this might not be really well balanced. Okay, because there's more focus on the positives. Now, in lots of ways, is it level 4? Is it mid-level 4? Probably 10 out of 12. Take that to the bank on results day. You should be fine if you finish the paper and walk away with an A star. However, if it's really obvious that there is a negative, and we had that negative here with the 3.2% drop in share price, it could be that when Bradley or Dobby rewrites this essay, that we could go for a negative, focusing more on this answer, and then the counter argument could be more about the positive, talking about Avatar: Last Airbender. Now, it's great that we've analysed it to that level, but in the exam, as long as there's balance and as long as it's got all the stuff we talk about, it is going to be level 4. And remember, we don't aim for perfection. Well, I don't as a Dalmatian. We aim for level 4. And we aim to keep within 1.2 minutes per mark. So, fantastic feedback. Thank you very much. Sort of agree with you. Probably going to give this 10 out of 12. but under time conditions. Really good feedback though, thank you. So going through the mark scheme, you know these, you can read. We are looking for this sort of stuff. We've got a good use of numbers in there. We could have done some calculations. I don't think we needed to, because we've got little gems like could suggest, for example, wonderful analytical language that we see to interpret quantitative data. So even though it's only 3.2% and there is no calculation at all, this has been interpreted, which is just definitely using quantitative information. Thinking about what the chief examiner says, to be awarded level 4, because it's not perfection we're aiming for, it's level 4, arguments need to be well balanced with coherent chains of reasoning and consistently supported by context. Now what the chief examiner means by consistently is throughout. Okay, throughout means all of it, not just your first 2 points and don't bother writing a contextualised conclusion and justification in MOPS. Okay? To echo that, this is from a different examiner report for a 12 marker, even though it mentions 10s and 20s, because the rules are roughly the same. Use of scaffolding is great technique to show candidates how to structure their responses. It's these sorts of scaffolding structures that help us to do this on autopilot. Fewer arguments that are well developed and consistently supported by the context will enable candidates to access the higher level of marks. You do not get maximum marks for giving me 10 different arguments, but you do if you give me 2 that have got some counter arguments with an overall decision. We're aiming for this. Where you are between 9 and 12, well, that depends probably on a number of things, but if you get the basics in place, you're going to get level 4 every time. Practice makes perfect. Hopefully that was useful, and remember, if I teach you, you should be EBIs, what went wells on this essay, and possibly go in and write a slightly improved version, and I would love to mark it if you're one of my students. Have a lovely afternoon.